Hi everyone, I'm Katie with Katie Eats, here today to give an update on what's been going on the last 2 weeks while wearing the continual glucose monitor. Also at the end of this review, I put the recipe for the Rice Krispie treats that I made during the second week when I was doing some experimenting with different foods to see how my glucose levels would spike and or drop after eating certain foods. So if you want to skip ahead to that, feel free. Otherwise, let's jump right into the recap. 2 weeks ago, I got my Nutrisense CGM in the mail, and I did a video where I unboxed it, and you get to watch me actually attach the sensor to my arm. So if you haven't watched that video, I would recommend going back and giving it a watch so that you can see what the Nutrisense is really all about, what CGMs are, and why I personally decided to go ahead and get one. Between that last video and now, I got to learn all sorts of cool stuff about my blood sugar levels, specifically what happens when I exercise, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But it was so easy to use. All I had to do was hold my phone up to the sensor about every 4 hours to send the data to my phone. It would go right to the Nutrisense app where I could view kind of what it did throughout those 4 hours. And actually I ended up scanning way more than every 4 hours just because it was kind of fun. The other thing you're able to do is input any kind of food that you're eating, exercise, and sleep so that you can see what the connections are between those things and your blood sugar levels. The other cool thing is that you are connected with a dietitian and they're able to also view your data, and you guys get to kind of talk back and forth. They're there if you have any questions. They offer tips and tricks and really kind of guide you and coach you through the process, and I found that to be really helpful. So now into the data that I learned. First off, Mom, you are right. I do have hypoglycemia. What is hypoglycemia? It is a deficiency in your blood glucose levels. Typically, you want to stay somewhere between 70 and 140. If you are consistently above 140, then that's when you need to start worrying about diabetes. And when you are below 70, that's when hypoglycemia comes into play. I found out that on average, my blood sugar levels stay around 90, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just that if I'm not really careful, then they have the tendency to drop to 70 and actually well below 70, especially during a workout. Now, I used to think that when I was at the gym or in an exercise class and I would finish and feel dead, it meant that I had just kicked some serious booty and got an amazing workout. Now, while that may have been the case, now I'm realizing what was most likely happening was actually that my blood sugar levels were dropping to dangerously low levels, and that's why I actually felt really worn out and tired. And not only because I had just got a really good workout. Some of the symptoms that I've experienced are dizziness, nausea, fatigue, trembling or shakiness, cold sweat, headache, irritability, poor concentration, and just generally feeling like crap. But there's a couple really serious symptoms that luckily I've never experienced, and those include passing out, seizure, and even coma. The other one that I found to be really interesting is actually nightmares. And it makes me wonder if those times I've had a bad dream, if it's actually because my blood sugar levels were dropping while I sleep. Exercise-induced hypoglycemia obviously happens while you're doing the exercise, but the interesting thing was how much it affects your body over the next 24 hours and beyond. The days that I was at the gym and I let my blood sugar levels get too low, it was so hard to pull myself out of it and get them back up to a stable point. What I would find is that they would kind of come back up again and then I would crash, and it just kept happening even while experimenting and eating all sorts of different types of food that you would think would really bring the sugar levels back up, it just wasn't the case. But exercise isn't the only time that I have actually experienced this in my life. There have been probably one too many times that I've been out and about running errands, or maybe we've been on a trip and I didn't bring a snack with me, and I didn't know where to stop that might have a gluten-free or vegan option, and I just try and push through, and it always ends up being a really negative experience, not only for me, but for the people around me, because I get angry. Now that I know what's actually happening, I realize that it's really dangerous to let that happen, and I'm going to be so much more careful to avoid those situations. I've learned that at the gym, I need to bring some kind of fruit, like a cutie or a banana, so when I start to feel those symptoms coming on, I can kind of nip them in the bud before they get bad. It's been kind of a hard thing for me to wrap my head around, because for so long I've really tried to avoid sugar in all forms, and I'm realizing that while most of the time, yes, sugar has a negative impact, it also can be very helpful for not only helping me feel better, but keeping me from getting in those dangerously low levels of blood glucose. So to finish off the video, I thought I would list out 5 tips for how to keep your glucose levels at a consistent, stable place so that you feel happy and healthy throughout the whole day, whether you're working out, at work, running around with the kids, or just laying in bed watching Netflix. Number 1, follow your meal plan. I know that sounds simple and kind of stupid, but honestly, it's the days that you don't follow what you know that things get thrown way out of balance. Number 2, eat several small, healthy meals throughout the day and try not to let too many hours go in between each meal. Number 3, stay hydrated. Number 4, when I talk about reaching for that sugary snack to maybe kind of pick you up out of a drop in your glucose, I'm talking about healthy sugars. I'm not giving you an excuse to stop and buy Skittles. I'm talking about a cutie, a banana, or if all else fails, maybe some dark chocolate. Either way, try and make the healthiest choices for your body. And lastly, my 5th tip is if you are experiencing some of these symptoms and you want answers, then get yourself a CGM. Thanks so much for watching this review. I hope it is helpful. And now, as promised, here comes the Rice Krispie treat recipe. Bye.